Hello everybody, so today is my continuation of Wotsit Street. Now you might have seen my first video where I went down to town to interview people on a bloody bank holiday, forgetting that most small businesses will be closed. But I was able to highlight the state of that area of it's only been active for 6 months, which I thought was 8 months. So the work sort of finished around about 8 months ago. Overall it was 6 months in October last year. So this has popped up yesterday, and quite a few local newspapers are highlighting that Wotsit Street is being scrapped after community backlash, as you can see. So let's go through this. So in case some of you don't know, a lot of people are aware. I mean, I've been told people in Spain are aware. So major changes to be made to the Wirral Road Wotsit Street after backlash from the community last year. Grange Road West in Birkenhead was transformed using grant funding into a one-way road and trying to improve the area with planters, benches and colourful road markings. However, the road has since been compared to cheesy snacks by many because of its visual similarities. When the scheme was introduced, Wirral Council said the project was an eye-catching but straightforward way of changing the dynamics of the street. Okay. Now at the end of the 6-month trial and traffic measures, the local authorities confirmed it will remove the street furniture, reinstate the parking on the road. Officials said the introduction of the coloured markings in particular have generated significant concern. It's a ghastly colour. The Grange Road West element of the town centre programme was introduced as a trial one-way system between Charing Cross Junction and Clayton Street to traffic travelling westbound only. The aim of the trial was to access whether changes to the traffic movement could improve the operation of Charing Cross Junction and support safer, more accessible routes for pedestrians in the town centre. Okay, we'll get back to that. They were deliberately temporary lower cost measures designed to test how the street functioned in practice without committing to major civil engineering works such as altering curb lines and drainage. I'm sorry, that still costs thousands of pounds of taxpayers' money or grant. Again, when they say grants, when you look into the grants, they don't just turn up out of nowhere. People keep thinking, well, it's not our money, it's grants. Yeah, but still, it's your income tax. It's your business rates. It's still the people's money. It's your money that pays for this, right? Where do you think the council gets its money from? Where's the government getting money from? You wake up in that sense sometimes. Based on monitoring data and feedback received so far, the council's current view is a one-way traffic system itself was generally worked well and helped improve operations for Charing Cross Junction. However, the temporary features introduced as part of the trial were not as warmly received, with many responses calling for their removal and for parking to be reinstated. Councillor Paula Bennett, leader of the Wirral Council, said, "We know that the changes to Grange Road West have been a real concern for many residents and businesses. It's important to be clear that these measures are always a trial." How much was that trial? Over the last 6 months, I've been monitoring how they've worked and, just as importantly, listening to what people have told us of how it feels and functions day by day, which is questionable, by the way, and we'll get to that. The evidence shows that a one-way system has improved how Charing Cross Junction operates. It's also clear that some of the trial features, particularly the surfaces, planters and benches, are not what people want in this location. We are acting on that feedback. Retaining the one-way system while removing the unpopular features and reinstating the parking is an option, but best reflects what's heard and balances traffic movements that needs to be in the town centre. We understand the strength of feeling around the issues, and we will continue to listen to these changes that are made. All benches and planters removed from the area will be repurposed and reused in other areas throughout the borough to support ongoing improvement projects at other schools and parks. So much to say on this, but now this turned up yesterday morning, and about 24 hours before this, 30 hours, let me just find out for you now. Alison dropped this, on the 23rd, so yeah, basically 24 hours beforehand she dropped this. So let's just play this from Alison.
Hi, I'm in the House of Commons today, but I've just...
Oh, sorry, so Alison McGovern is our local MP for Birkenhead.
Popped out to give a quick update on Grange Road West, what some people have been calling Wotsit Street. We're having a meeting about the future on Friday, and if you're worried about the future of Grange Road West and you would like to come and you're a Birkenhead constituent, all you need to do is fill in the form on my website.
So, Buzz, funny enough, I just didn't notice here on the side here, Buzz LeVay, funny enough, he is one of the shop owners there who runs the tattoo and piercing parlour. He sent one of the request in, but he didn't get anything back from Alison telling him about any meeting. Now, yesterday morning, before these articles dropped, and when these dropping about 11:30, yeah, I'm on the phone to Buzz, because he's just been informed by another owner next door to him, Roger. Well, Roger's wife has been informed that there's a meeting across the road in a little theatre at 5 o'clock. So Buzz is, he got quite annoyed, and he wanted to know if any of the other local businesses up and down West Zone, Grange Road West, were actually aware of the meeting happening today at 5 o'clock. Now, let's be fair, Alison dropped, slight criticism of Alison here, you dropped this 24 hours notice, and not every shop owner there is A, aware that you're the MP necessarily, B, don't have you on socials, so don't really give them much of a time for them to know that this was even an option to email you, for you to get to, for them to get to said meeting. But however, the people that have done, for some reason, didn't get an invitation. And I'm not sure because Buzz has been so vocal that this warranted not replying to his email. So while I was on the phone, Buzz went between the 15 stores up and down that part, around that area of Wotsit Street. None of them knew, not a single one of them. And I was asked to come to this meeting at 5 o'clock, in which I did. So we turn up at 5 o'clock, Alison turns up, and there's several criticisms to be made of this overall event. And there's also criticisms on myself as well, because I wasn't really 100% polite to a degree. And I was unfair, which I did say I didn't mean what I said necessarily, but I'll get to that in a minute. So we get there, and Alison is greeted with open arms, hugged by all the theatre staff. She knows the theatre staff very well, or has been, in close communication with them. And when I got inside, we realised, me and Buzz, that the 8 people we had literally bought there. Yeah, we bought the lovely Indian fellow in who runs the t-shirt shop across the way, Sam. He's only been there 4 months, so if you can help him out, he seems quite a nice lad. And we also got the I think that, I don't know where they're from, but the Middle Eastern restaurateurs from the top, and they've got the pub owners on the corner, the lovely English British natives who've been there for a long time. Buzz brought those people to that event who didn't know. Now, one criticism here of Paula, we're saying we're getting feedback from the public. You never once went to the shop owners, and as you can see here, Buzz says, how about speaking to the shop owners and the residents that actually are on the road 24/7, how it affects them? But at no point do these owners feel that anybody came out to them to ask their opinion how they're being affected. Now, the construction of Wotsit Street took 17 months approximately to complete, and at this point there was girders, construction everywhere, which was blocking their shops. So why weren't they, or why weren't they ever asked their opinion from the get-go? That should be one of the most important things. So big criticism of this meeting is if we were not there, and Buzz had brought 9 people to this overall, because the eight owners and myself, it would only been the theatre staff who would have been privy to this conversation or giving their feedback and their opinion on the row. Now, that seems a bit off to me, so that's like an echo chamber of people who you are not going to be so necessarily say hostile to you, not going to question you necessarily, or be more complicit. I don't know. It just felt a bit off to me. It felt a bit disingenuous, right? To be brutally honest with you. I don't mean that in a mean way, but it feels that way. The other criticism I have is that we're all council members who are meant to turn up, and they didn't. Not one. Now, there was influence of at least 2. Like, there was a couple, or a few, said a few, so that's more than 2, right? So off that term, just have the wording, you'd think to yourself, there should be like 3 of them maybe. They didn't turn up. Didn't turn up at all to show their face, because they very well knew that this was a disaster. This is one of the worst decisions ever and a complete waste of money and funds allocated by the grant, which could have been dealt with much better. So how is it that a Labour MP cannot like at least put pressure on a Labour elected council to send representation? I got kind of called off for what I asked and what I put across in this theatre. But that is a criticism. That's a damning criticism. Where are the Green, Labour, Conservative, whoever actually council members in there, but specifically the Labour ones? Now, of course, it's not Alison's job and she does not have control directly over the council. But I just, in the back of my head, I'm just thinking they are Labour council elected, party elected members of your party. They reflect you, Alison, as an MP. You're the oversight. You ought to sort of take the complaints to the people, put it to the council, make sure they kind of do their job a bit better, and then put it to Parliament if it needs to be. Yeah, and I also like kind of arguably rudely interrupted because she was saying, well, you know, I've become aware of this. I've come down to give you feedback, so forth and so on, which she introduced in the meeting. And I was like, why did it take 8 months? Why did it take 6 months? You know, from the initial day, I mean, I said 8 months, which was wrong because apparently it was finished 6 months ago, so they say. But nonetheless, I was like, from day one, this was like televised in every shape or form. Like every social media platform had this just pumped out everywhere. Everybody was covering the madness of Wotsit Street. Heck, Spanish TV was covering it apparently. What the hell? It's a disaster in so many ways. So why is it taking so long? You know, why is the council not spoken up properly in the meantime? Why is the council not coming out in the meantime and questioning the shop owners? And again, I know that's not the responsibility of the MP. I'll just be very, very clear about that. But we'll get to me in a minute. So inside, we did get feedback. Alison was lovely. She managed it pretty well. She also put along a gentleman from the Pride and Place scheme who's been assigned as chair, which we'll get to in a bit. He seems really, really lovely. Got to meet him directly and he said he invited me to all the meetings, so I said I'd happily come along. Of course, if it can help in any shape or form, I will. So the meeting went pretty straightforward. So I'm going to highlight a lot of the issues from the meeting. So when they talk about this one-way system, yeah, of making it more traffic control and removing the parking, it's kind of really a bit nonsense because this poor theatre has been here for what, I think 94 years, right? So you've now stopped access outside parking in any shape or form. And there's a lovely gentleman there, I think he's like 82, he said, he's an ex-police officer, and he's in a mobility scooter, and he's like, well, where's the drop curbs? We need drop curbs for me to be able to get to the theatre or people to get to the bank. It's made that really inaccessible. Now, another lovely lady at the back of the theatre, one of the theatre volunteers, said, well, there's two, but they're covered up by the planters. She couldn't make it up, right? This is sheer mismanagement. Whoever the consultation was with on this to put this in action, just really, I don't even know who they are and why they're doing that job, but well, I kind of do actually. But anyway, that's not what we're getting about. So access was a big issue. You can't park there, so everybody's having to park up top at the Buxton car park, which is causing quite a few issues apparently. And what we're getting at here is this one-way road, right? So isn't that weird how it says Wotsit Walks there, right? So you know, this is like an image as well of what the construction was like for 17 months, right? So Grange Road, just come out the road, right? So they made a one-way system. So it's one-way system from this way, yeah, going west. And the issue they have is Barton Street car parking, yeah, and the Barton Street junction here. So because it's a one-way system, the rest is interchangeable. It's causing almost accidents to happen all the time. There's the criticism from all the shop owners and the theatre people, but this accident's been caused, and also being caused because along this area here, there's a new bike lane apparently. You know my opinion on bike lanes. They're a complete waste of money. No one asked for them, and we've got no money to put into, even though you keep saying it's from grants. But again, I'm sorry, the grants comes from the people. Where does government's money come from, guys? You, your taxes, yeah? Where does council money, where's local funds come from? You and your council tax and your business rates. right? Like, you really need to understand that. When they say, oh, we use low materials to make sure this doesn't cost much for a 6-month trial, that's still a very, very expensive 6-month trial, which I have requested, an FOI request into the cost of this, by the way, and to the expectations, and basically ask for who signed off on it, really, to be honest with you. So taking that in mind, there's actually a lot of traffic issues happening here. So the one-way system has actually caused murder, and the parking is a real issue, especially for the theatre and for people to attract business, because there's nowhere to park. And if you park for 2 seconds, what we heard back from a lot of the business owners about buzz brought to the actual meeting to give proper feedback, just remember that, said that when they're getting delivery drivers popping up to give their deliveries, the delivery drivers are getting tickets because of uploading, unloading the product, and there's hardly nowhere for them to park, because they have to park right at the top of the road and bring the product down because there's no back entrance, and the way you put these planters in positions causes an issue. So when regards to traffic and trying to change the direction of traffic to make it, I don't know, more safe or whatever, it's caused more problems. Basically, the inference from every owner is it's caused more problems, and it's been detrimental for their businesses. There's a gentleman at a little theatre as well who's not from the local area. I'm really sorry, I can't remember where he said from, but he said he helps bring people to the theatre, and that's great. That's like, basically, it's the guy you want. You want a guy to bring people from outside of the Wirral to the theatre, to the area. People get interested, people go for food, but when people turn up to see that, he said it turns them away. When people turn up and it's really hard for parking, and I've got to pay for parking around the back, and it's mainly the parking issues, and it isn't necessarily because they want parking for free outside. It'd be nice for the businesses to be able to park delivery vehicles, yes, park their own vehicles outside, yes, that's fine, but mainly for the theatre, it's the disability. Yeah, it's the people with mobility issues. You don't want them coming out of the theatre, then having to go up the top of Grange Road West and go around the corner. Now, so roads, a mess. And the original plans as well was supposed to be a walkway, where it wasn't even a road. That's what the original plan looked like. And the only reason it exists is as a speed deterrent, apparently, right? It's a god-awful speed deterrent. It blows my mind. Now, so access has been a major issue to all the businesses there. Buzz and other business owners have highlighted as well, due to the construction and the outcome, their footfalls have dropped by almost 70%. Their businesses are literally dying. And I feel bad because speaking to Sam, who's an Indian fellow who's just opened a t-shirt printing shop there, and does it all by himself by hand. Everything's there. It's like literally his workshop. It's amazing. He's been there 4 months, and you can see it, but he's upset that he's invested in this little shop, and he's got this. And then the fact is, it's just degrading. I mean, the rubbish in the area is absolutely terrible. There's criticism of cleaners as well, where they turn up and they're just doing a half-assed job. Yeah. So poor Sam, who's just set up a new business, now feels like it was a wrong investment. Not only that, we'll get to the next part. Crime. The amount of feedback we heard about crime from all the shopkeepers in there was insane, man, from all the businesses. It was nuts. People witnessing 14 drug deals in one day at the top of the road. The planters and tables are being used mainly by alcoholics and drug addicts and the most abusive members of the Birkenhead society you can imagine. The ASB in Birkenhead has been a historical problem. We've always had issues, right? It's a low impoverished area. There's been a lot of hardship and stuff like that, and crime is just rife. And we have a large homelessness issue on the streets of Birkenhead Town Centre. I know, because my business was on the other side of Prince's Pavement, and it was literally called Smackhead Row. Yeah? Okay? And that was also done over just like Wotsit Street, to the point, but my business was closed in October last year. The restoration of Birkenhead has been an absolute disaster. And there's no one to blame other than Labour Green, really, in my opinion. People got to remember that the Wirral has been held by Labour since 1923. No one to blame here. You can't blame the Conservatives. You can't really blame anybody but yourselves. And the council has always been, majority Labour and Green. So they signed off on all these decisions. This is a sheer reflection of the management of the country. Birkenhead Town Centre. It is literally like, if you want to compare the two of the management of the overall government and nation, just compare it to Birkenhead Town Centre, in my opinion. And if you think the Green Party are going to do better, well then please just look at Birkenhead Town Centre again and the Wirral overall. It was rich yesterday. I seen the Greens in Bidston turn around and complain about Labour, but I'm like, but you guys, you've got councillors in place, and I keep hating this thing, but for some reason you got a council elected member from your party and they've got nothing to do with your party, or your MP's got nothing to do with your MP. That sounds mad to me. Like, let's be honest with you. Like, I'm not saying I will, but say if I'm a Restore Britain MP, right, and of my constituency, and I've got Restore Britain councillors underneath me, if they are culpable for failures or success, and it's a meeting that needs to be happening with the public, I would be putting pressure on those council members that are elected through our party to turn up and show face. Surely I should have enough political clout or power to simply say, yo, get your ass here. Yes, I'm not responsible for what the council does. I'm not responsible for all the council's decisions, but I should have enough clout to get them there. And this was where I came in the meeting. I'll just interject before I carry on with the crime thing. I threw a lot of information at poor Alison, bless her. And I was very tired, been very ill. I even said, you know, the Wirral Council's effed up here. I didn't say fucked up, but I said effed up. I'm not 100% professional. I'm unorthodox in a lot of ways. But again, so far you might realise through the videos I'm not exactly what you class as normal. Nonetheless, I digress. When I was questioning Alison, I ended up going, your councillors are not here. It's a majority Labour council. You guys are responsible. The sheer mismanagement of the area, let alone the fact that you're going to reverse. My point was that you're going to take all this back, right? It costs money. Whoever you pay to come out to remove these planters, to put the road right, to put markings in for special parking for the theatre, whatever it may be, it's going to cost money, right? Taxpayers' money. And with Rachel Reeves putting potential business rates up in April, which is like now, yeah, for a lot of businesses, especially those in the pub industry, I'm not sure what's going on, they need to check on that. That we are, again, the community, the people, are paying for this. And I think it's terrible. And I said, well, you know, these councillors should take a pay cut and reimburse the public for their errors. You know what I mean? And I said, you've literally done this, and can you promise this? Can you promise that? Can you promise this? Now, Alison was fair, and she replied and said, there's a lot to take in there. You've got a lot of good points, because I mentioned so much. But she said, one thing I disagree with is that, you know, I'm not in charge of the council. I don't think it's charge of this. And I said, I didn't mean that. I didn't say that. And this guy was like, you did say that. I said, yes, I did say you, but I didn't mean you. So I got interrupted. We got a bit of back and forward. But she said, you know, I'm not responsible. I'm just here now to give feedback and see what I can do and where I can put pressure on, stuff like that. And I was like, yes, okay. So you've backed me up there. Put pressure, so you can put pressure on them to be here and show face. At the end, I shook her hand, I turned around to her and said, look, just to be clear, I didn't mean you directly, but you are the MP, the Labour representative, to speak for the people in the area. And when you have Labour council elected individuals, I firmly believe that you should have had enough clout to make sure they are here to answer the public and give us some answers to why they've done the things they've done and what they're going to do to fix it, and what they're going to do to reduce the costs of fixing it, for example. Like, I'm just, it just didn't sound right to me. I'm like, am I wrong? Am I really out of place here? Am I really wrong to say that, like, I'm sorry, but, you know, you've got to take some responsibility, Alison. You should be able to get these people here, you know? So, overall as well, so we get back to the crime. And digress on that for a second. We'll get back to the crime. So there's so much crime in the area, it's exponential. There is a restaurant to the top for a bunch of Middle Eastern fellas who seem really lovely. And they turn around to this meeting and said they have rang the police 80 times due to the crime and abuse in the area, to the point that the police turned around and said, you need to contact the council. Same thing was said to Buzz. The same thing was said to several of the businesses. The crime in the area is actually increased in an already heavily ASB crimed, you know, antisocial behaviour area in general, right? And there's gangs of kids And as I said, people taking drugs out there, alcoholics, which it pushes people from the area. It alienates the people in the area. And lovely Sam, the Indian fellow who set up the shop, he's had children come into the store, try and rob his product, try and aggravate him. And when he found out I was Indian, in one case, he's informed me they were racist to him. And that's just not on, okay? And the pub in the corner, of course, it's their punters sometimes sitting on the tables, but it's not necessarily coming from them because the people sitting on the tables are buying alcohol cheaply from the Asda or something like that, sitting there. So it's not even giving them more punters or whatever. Now, the sad reality as well, what we got the inference of in this meeting is that all the businesses, their turnovers dropped by at least 40% to 70%. So for 17 months when the construction up was in the area, which we can see in that like sort of corner there, had lowered footfall so much because there was no access to that area. But now since the completion of Wotsit Street, access is being lowered yet again, even as a car park at the back. But it's almost a drop off to 2 seconds. It's not easy. But not just that, no one wants to go to the area because it looks awful and just attracting the wrong people. So from what I understand, there was a compensation form to be filled out. Some of the people there mentioned that they signed out the said form and had nothing back. So most of this is about the theatre, and the theatre were very, very lovely people, volunteers, and they said it's not just about the theatre, this has affected this and this and this. And that's great, because I'm glad she said that, and I would hope to think that was said if we weren't there, because as I stated, the business owners of the street, other than the theatre, were not going to be there because they didn't know, right? If it wasn't for Buzz and me on the phone listening in, walking up and down the street, 8 people wouldn't be there, right? And I wouldn't be there. And obviously, I'd seen Alison's video, but I'm not a business owner, so I wasn't going to fill out a form. I was going to intrude. I was going to hear back from feedback spot, but I was invited and asked to come along. That's a damning thing in its own right. And then the fact is the councillors then turn up as well to answer, or at least be clear a little bit, or at least someone who's involved in this project to get the feedback. But again, it would be an echo chamber if we take away the 8 business owners. You would have only had the theatre people there, who are a lot more pleasant because they're just volunteers, and some reason have a closer tie to Alison. So yeah, so I kind of blamed Alison, but I didn't mean to blame Alison. I was blaming her for her overall party elected not being there, and I think I was fair to do that. And nonetheless, I cleared it up. I didn't mean her personally. When I said you, I mean you as an entity, as Labour. That's what I meant. Again, I'm not a perfect public speaker yet. I'm getting there, and as I say, I'm a bit unorthodox. Now, one thing I want to mention as well is the Pride in Place scheme. So this lovely gentleman was here at the meeting, Liam Kelly, absolutely lovely guy. He runs one of the centres, the culture centre up the top of the road. Absolute pleasure. I do know a little bit about him. I walked up to him after the meeting. He's been assigned to chair along with these 2 other ladies for Woodchurch and Liso. And I was at the Liso meeting as well with Angela Eagle about that Pride in Place scheme. I got reassurance, obviously, you were not going to fixing any of the issues of Wotsit Street for that. Obviously, the money should go into restoring the near 100-year-old theatre. When I spoke to Liam, obviously he had what I said in the meeting. He's like, please come to all of these committees if you can. And I was like, by all means, Liam, if you want my help, by all means, I'll be there. So that's really good. The Pride in Place scheme is pretty decent. I want to talk a little bit about this. Again, it's central government funds. Funds have been released to the most deprived areas around the country. There's lots of places, quite a large pot, to be honest with you. And we've got 60 million assigned to the Wirral, being Woodchurch, Seacombe area, and Birkenhead. Okay, which is a shame because the Birkenhead restoration should have actually done that. And we've already had things like the Hive project, which hit and miss is a success and not in some ways. So it's really make sure where that money goes, and I think it's more into the culture and heritage of Birkenhead, which we are proud of. There's a lovely lady in there who said Birkenhead deserves nice things. Yeah, it does. It really does. Trust me. I was born in Birkenhead, literally born in Birkenhead. As much as I might not signed it. and that's really important. Now, apparently there's going to be more surgeries going forward. That's what Alison said. You can reach out to her apparently if you are concerned in the local area. So I say to do so that. Hopefully she does get back to you this time, which again, she was criticised by Buzz in the meeting to say, well, please get back to us then if that's the case. So the plans going forward for Wotsit Street aren't necessarily 100% empirical, apart from set in stone, even other than moving the planters. So I advise anybody who's a local business owner in the area to go there and do that. But that was a generalised feedback. I did record the whole meeting. I can transcribe it properly, but I just don't see the point overall. I've said my piece on it, and also I didn't really ask, so it's be unfair to throw that out. I think Alison handled it pretty well. She was a bit thrown back. You can see that she was caught off guard a little bit, but again, I don't think she expected to have certain 9 extra people to turn up. It wasn't even that large group, to be fair, but nonetheless handled it well. So pleasure meeting you, Alison, to be fair, and I said to her I'd meet her again soon. Just like other people like Angela. So that's my 2 pence on Wotsit Street. That's what went down yesterday. Secret meeting, as it felt like, at 5 o'clock. It was odd because obviously the news articles started dropping beforehand, so it was questions of whether the meeting would even go ahead. It's a shame that the council members didn't turn up to answer in any shape or form. I'd say the management needs to be done better, but the overall meeting just felt like a Labour shenanigans, mismanagement, miscommunication, not wanting to own up. Oh yeah, those council's got nothing to do with me. I said, well, I know, but they're your council elect, so you do have word for them. As I said, if Restore Britain councillors did a bad job, I expected Restore Britain MP to call them forward to answer for their issues and to answer the people. Is that wrong of me to say? Anyway, bit of a muddle of a video. I'm so freaking ill the last couple of days and run down. Yes, they caught me off guard. I was just trying to chill out, do some painting or something. And I got dragged into this. And there you go. So there's some food for thought. Take away what you want with that. And I'll catch you all soon. But it was an experience.